Hey everybody, welcome to another Summer Lunch and Learn segment. My name is Tanya Osborne, Director of Community with Women Grow. And I'm actually I'm excited about all of our segments, but I'm really excited about this one because I know that this is really something that a lot of people are getting excited about. We're working out how we're going to be able to do this stuff, but it is all coming together. So today we are talking about cannabis hospitality. There's an actual word for it now. We have evolved from being, hosting dinner parties in secret to having elaborate spreads at events where weddings are incorporating cannabis into them, where there are going to be places where we can go that are cannabis friendly, that we can have an event at, or that we can sleep at, or hotels, and all this wonderful stuff is coming. So we are really lucky to have three amazing women that are already involved in this space, in this ever evolving space of cannabis travel, cannabis destinations, and cannabis as far as a culinary enhancement to your event. So I want to introduce, I'm actually reading bios today. So normally I'm like, come up and introduce yourself, but I'm going to bring up everybody and read their bio. So ready for this? Here we go, because I have to be able to see. So welcome, everybody. We're going to bring up April Becker Macchio. She's the founder of Unified Retreat Motel, pioneering the construction of New York's innovative plant medicine motel. With a foundation in legal marketing and hospitality, she's a visionary committed to cannabis and women's empowerment, and she's a friend of mine. Through Unified Retreat Motel, April fosters a non-judgmental space for individuals to rediscover nature and community, providing education, events, and a supportive environment and atmosphere in a stunning outdoor setting. And the initiative embodies the diversity of New York's community. That is April. I'm going to bring her up. Then we're going to bring up Kristal Chamblee. Originally from Buttonwillow, California, she's honed her culinary skills at the Cordon Bleu Culinary Institute in Las Vegas. With a background in prestigious resort kitchens and cannabis facilities, she's become a renowned cannabis pastry and savory chef. Featured on Vice, Complex, Hulu, and Fox News, can be found in over 800 dispensaries across the United States and Canada. Focusing on quality ingredients and thoughtful formulation, shines through her breathtaking flavors. Please bring up Kristal. And then we have Ayanna Lawson, a cannabis travel specialist, curating unique experiences to cannabis-friendly destinations worldwide. With Front Row Travels, she creates premier 420-friendly events and journeys, aiming to destigmatize cannabis use through education and exploration. Drawing on years of traditional travel experience, she's forged strong relationships with like-minded vendors, adding a unique 420 touch to travel. Whether it's a group tour to South Africa, Hawaii, or Vegas, her experience is catered to diverse preferences, connecting like-minded travelers in cannabis-friendly settings globally. And we bring up Ayanna from Front Row Travels. Welcome, ladies. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you here.
Good afternoon.
That was a phenomenal bio. I was saying, Tanya, that was a phenomenal bio. Can you
I will tell you about that later. I gotta say, because you guys have bios, you need to be able to tell everyone who you are. And I wanted to because no one ever talks about themselves as as you be like, I do this, it's cool, So
I will say,
I give you the shine that you deserve.
I will say, I think I sent like 3 or 4 sentences trying to keep it short. Nah, Tanya did that. I'm gonna need that one. I love it.
Thank you. You're very welcome. You deserve it. So, ladies, welcome today. April, hi.
Good afternoon,
Kristal,
ladies.
Hello.
So tell me a little bit about, my first question, then I have specific questions for you. But my initial questions really are, tell me a little bit about what brought you here, what brought you to the world of cannabis hospitality. I'm going to start with April.
So I have always been a little bit connected to the cannabis industry because I grew up as a little kid running around the AIDS center in Queens. And as we know, the medical patients here in New York and the AIDS patients were a huge push towards getting legalization. And when New York legalized, I knew that I needed to be part of it. And it's really for me about making sure that we can have access, because as you and me agree, Tanya, like all usage is medical.
I feel that.
And we need to make sure that we're providing the education and the safe spaces to do that. And coming into this legal space, we finally have the opportunity to do that.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you. Kristal, how about yourself? What brought you here?
Personally, I was someone who was having a lot of medical issues and consuming just a lot of pills that weren't really vibing with what I wanted to do. And so being able to create my own edible after finding that the dispensary wasn't quite providing what I needed just gave me the breakthrough idea moment to realize that I need to be sharing this with so many other people who also need the customization that isn't provided on hand by the mass amount of dispensaries that are out there. Everything's pretty much a gummy, a chocolate. Now we're getting into the realm of a drink, but there just wasn't the availability. And there's so many more techniques that can be applied to cannabis consumption for food that can make the experience enjoyable that wasn't being offered. And so I'm very much farm baby, find a need, fill a need. And so when there was a need to be filled, that also gives you like a lot of purpose, because as a chef, you're feeding someone, and that has its own gratification. So to enhance it medically just was the cherry on top of the cake.
I love that. I have a lot of stuff to talk to you about. So that's fantastic. Ayanna, please share. How did you get here?
I started on the traditional side of travel. We're always kind of looking, not for the newest thing or anything, but when you start a business, you kind of want to get in a niche market, something where you can, really stand out. But that still wasn't on my radar when I first started travel. What it was becoming a patient. As you know, being a brand owner, you have focus issues, you have energy issues, you have so many issues with trying to do so many things and be all the things. So I started using cannabis, and then one day I'm just like, how about it's gotta be a way to merge the two, because they do intersect at self-care. Like, we use cannabis for self-care, for, anxiety, depression, or whatever, but we also travel to break the monotony, to get away from whatever it is that we do, in our daily lives, and they cross. So I'm like, well, let's see what is out there. And then upon, a lot of research, it's not a lot of brands that focus on trying to, I guess, connect the two, build a bridge between the two. I did notice that, almost everybody's travel, whether it's a road trip, a whole passport stamp, wherever, mostly everybody's travel. So there's that connection there. And when we meet people in our travels, we're normally a little more relaxed. We're normally, more talkative, be it through alcohol or weed, either way. It is a way to enhance the experience. So I just really want to bring a safe kind of environment, a safe space for people to explore cannabis, but while destigmatizing, as you mentioned before, the whole plan. So yeah, just merging my two worlds.
We're going the right direction. We just have to make sure that, we'll get into that. So there's just so much stuff to talk about around it, because yes, travel is a big thing. And if you're a medical patient, some places won't allow you to bring your medicine.
No,
reciprocity. You know what I mean? Because depending on the method of consumption, you might not be able to. So what do you do? All right. So I'm going to start with April. So tell us a little bit about the Unify Retreat Motel.
So we are a 14-room music and plant medicine motel up in Bethel, New York. We are located 6 minutes from the site of the 1969 Woodstock concert in Bethel Woods. And we're 2 hours from Manhattan, from New York City, right in Midtown, where I'm taking this call right now. We are planning on being open this September. And we're currently installing a pool, sauna, hot tub, and cold plunge. And we're working on a conference center as well, so that we can create a safe space for community in our space to extend and build and continue these conversations that so desperately need to be had, especially in our current market here in New York.
And I can't imagine how nice it must be to get out of this city.
And somewhere where things are not under construction.
Yes, right? So you say you're opening up in September?
Yes.
So you're in full-on renovation right now?
We are like putting sheets and towels in rooms and doing last minute touch-ups and just finishing up our grounds. We have beautiful gardens there. Shout out to Ambra from Ambergram Farm. She has helped us bring our gardens that have been well established for over 35 years there on the property back to life. And a lot of the plants on our property already are medicinal plants. And we're going to be highlighting that because it's not just about cannabis. It's about plant medicine and the access that we haven't had because that education was stolen from us and giving that back.
I love that.
Road trip.
Yeah. And listen, if you guys do a collaboration,
we will.
And I don't get a phone call, someone's getting hurt. Like
legit. It's not an option.
I'm not about violence.
Top of the list of every single thing
farm
we
to
do.
Table cannabis retreat organized at your motel would be amazing.
Yes.
We'll
Yeah,
right?
100%.
I can't wait.
Because we could do a whole tangent conversation. So Ayanna, so tell me how do you go about curating these experiences, these cannabis friendly experiences, because you're going into, depending on where you're going, how do you navigate those experiences?
Those are, I'll say, it's a few things that I do, whether it's a small group or a large group or just for myself. Like, honestly, I kind of reverse engineer. I do meet with the clients to like make sure their vibe, because every cannabis destination isn't the same vibe. Like New York is different than LA, that's different from Colorado. Like everything has its own vibe. So I kind of sit with them, see what it is that they really want out of their vacation. Because to me, that's why you're going. It's not necessarily for cannabis. That's an enhancement, but you've taken a lot of time and energy to, have this time away from whatever it is you're doing. I want you to enjoy that. So I kind of reverse engineer. I treat every request new, although I might have 3 people in one day, ask about Jamaica or something like that. I still go in and I research that destination to make sure nothing's changed, because I think we all can attest to being in the industry that things can change like in minutes, like especially if you're like close to a legislative session or voting or
100%.
Something, it will change. And you kind of don't want to get, I want you to enjoy your experience. So I do start with some of the most cannabis friendly destinations, if you will. So if it's a rec state like Colorado or Alaska, or even some of the worldwide destinations that, like Jamaica or something like that, I try to, go where it's more friendly than others. I would by no means try to send anyone to like Russia or Dubai or somewhere. I highly recommend that you don't do that. But, it's a personal choice. But so I treat each one as a new request. I look at very friendly destinations and kind of work my way back. I do research not only the destination as a whole, but the travel route. So if you might have a layover in a non-cannabis friendly state, say like Idaho or something like that, then I really want to make sure that you know and are familiar with the, what may happen if you do have some type of paraphernalia or anything. So I look at your whole route if I can. Like, I know some things happen, cancellations, redirection, things like that, but we're trying to mitigate as much as possible.
Right.
I like to encourage guests to enjoy with whatever is in the guidelines that are there. So if you're going to, I'll say Florida, and it's a hemp only type of experience or a hemp only type of state, try to abide by that. There's a lot that, like April mentioned, there's a lot of plant medicine that goes beyond like the THC. So if you have CBD options, if you have hemp options, if you have some other type of option, I like to give you that as well. It doesn't always have to be, I guess, the more risky THC.
Right. You got to take calculated risks. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
That's
really do.
That's a challenge. That's the world we live in,
Mm-hmm.
But I love to travel to legal states so I don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's less to worry about. Like, who wants to ruin a whole vacation?
And now that there's so many more, like New York is now a legal state. You know what I mean? We weren't for so many years. And even though, like, I had a colleague come in from Portland, Oregon, another legal state, and she's originally from New York. And even though we're not as fully developed as, like a Colorado is, we have a few open stores, but the ability to smoke in a neighborhood, on the street. If cigarette consumption is allowed, then cannabis consumption is allowed currently in New York State. So if someone's able to smoke cigarettes, someone's able to consume cannabis. So she was like, can you believe this? And that was a great experience for her to not have the stigma of like, you know, hiding or what have you. And that's, you know, that's specific to New York, because right in New Jersey, we don't have, that's a whole different ball of wax. So like you would know something like that to say, this is okay, but don't go to Jersey and try that nonsense, because that would be a challenge.
Each destination differently and like its own entity, not even just a destination, but things can change county to county, you know, city to city, as far as where you can consume, how much you can consume, the types
what
of
you
ways
can have on
consume.
you personally.
I would say possession, it changes. So I really, you know, encourage people to know, not just simply rely on me too, but I, you know, I do my due diligence, but it also comes down to what you're comfortable with. Like, some people, a $50 fine is nothing. Some people, they're like, no, absolutely not. You know, like
100%.
And it's different. I guess the medicinal experience also can be different from the recreational experience. When you go to, you know, for medicinal reason, you can, you know, pretty much kind of zone in. And I like to send my guests with education. Like they have a guide as far as the ways you can consume. Some are pros and some are new, but you might have been smoking, I'll say, blunts forever, and you're new to the vape experience. So what should you expect if vapes are only allowed in Seattle? You know, you need something less discretion. So, I mean, more discretion, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's just kind of taking each experience one by one and treating it as its own.
I love that. Thank you. And I think that deserves a catered experience, like a catered experience. So that's fantastic. All right. So Kristal, so you obviously you're a trained chef.
Yes.
And how is it that you differentiate? Like my question is, how do you differentiate cannabis infused culinary offerings from traditional ones? And is there a unique approach to how you do things?
So as you were just talking about, here in Vegas, we have you are medically and recreationally legally allowed to buy from a dispensary. You cannot smoke it anywhere. And now we are opening up consumption lounges, and they're going through their processes and challenges. We have Nuwu dispensary that has the consumption lounge. Very big shout out to Nuwu for trying to.
That is on the reservation, correct?
That is on the reservation. Probably in the last week I've attended 3 events there, and they're trying to do it right. They're not price gouging people. They are opening up to other events. They're doing really good collabs and partnerships. While we're out here talking about people, Rebecca Perrick is one of the people who is original women's grow leader here in Las Vegas, and she is doing events that are making cannabis openly acceptable and friendly in places where it's allowed, but also providing the experience to it. And so I definitely appreciate.
Shout out to lady-led collabs.
Lady-led collabs. We are giving it up for
Yes. Love Rebecca. Rebecca is how I connected with you, because she talked so highly of you. And when we wanted to do cannabis hospitality, you know, I like to kind of spread it out and bring out all the Cannadivas across the state if I can. And so I was like, okay. And I remembered, so I was like, can you connect with her? So happy to have you here. So
Rebecca has an event coming up for you doing the front row travels and connecting people. Rebecca does an event once a month, and whether it is a consumption event, depending on if that is legally allowed because of the area in town or what's going on, or a non-consumption event, it is well worth the experience, always enjoyable, and a really great place to connect with other like-minded individuals who are also trying to push the positive influence of cannabis forward. Because I think the fact that we are benefiting from the taxes and the dispensaries and the travel and the experiences, and we now have a cannabis hotel here in Nevada, and people are very positive for that. And I think that we need more of that connection to make more of the acceptance open, because anybody can give something a bad name. And I think we're kind of riding on a bad name. So circling back, pushing the positive experience of cannabis forward. So they do publicly allow it, like in New York, where consumption's allowed anywhere cigarettes are. I think that a part of having cannabis food at a place is providing the elevated experience of safety.
Yes.
When we used to have, I love a shout out Heidi Keys and Michael Eimers with CannabisTours.com out in Colorado. Big shout out to Heidi Keys for giving me one of my first cannabis cooking opportunities in the industry.
Okay.
She had Puff Pass Pastry here in Nevada. And my biggest thing was, you could be a person who has never consumed. You've never consumed a single, and you can come and have a great experience. I'm not going to overdose you. We're not going to pressure you. There's not going to be any slip ups or miscommunications about what you are being fed and given. Dosages are going to be correctly explained. And not just that, but giving people the understanding, even if you're not consuming, what's going on here. Breaking down your infusion all the way from, this is an ounce of plant material, it's 20% concentrated, that plant material going into this butter at this amount, and you're going to decarb, you're going to lose this much. You're only multiplying by the THC percentage. So when we are done, we're left with variance, because even the testing labs are allowed their small bit of variance, this. And I'm giving that information. I'm keeping the package if I bought it from the dispensary. I'm making sure it is very in your face, and so that way there's no accidents, and that way every experience is comfortable and for that individual person. So if you book me,
I love it.
Infused and non-infused food in the same location, and there's no misunderstanding. Or if you want a very low dose situation, because some people just want to enjoy their experience, not get all the way blown out, having somebody be able to just 1 and 2 milligrams, that micro dose of a good experience instead of high out in public, also sets a good example. And I'm a very big advocate of being able to enjoy your habit publicly without having any stigma.
I love that so much. I mean, we are friends, and I mean, I'm very lucky because I've been around for a minute, so I've made some amazing connections with some wonderful chefs like yourself. And I love when it is, because here's the thing, I feel like there are people that are very curious about the cannabis experience. And then there are folks that are really kind of afraid. They don't want to have a bad experience. That it's an uncomfortable experience if you don't know what to expect. So to have and also to speak on it, I have a lot of allergies. And if you hang out with us, there's allergies abound. So to have someone who is, we recently went to an infused event. This person was so meticulous about everyone's specific allergies, dosing. It was a low dose meal. It was wonderful. It was catered to people's allergies, which I was like, I love you. So it's really so wonderful. The care, and then
the detail,
the detail. And that's, I feel that's a wonderful experience, and not one we see a lot, because some people really just want to get rolled out of the place. And listen, I'm not yucking anyone's yum, but how we bring new people into the fold, allow them to have a smaller experience. And and honestly, for me, I'm a medical cannabis caregiver here in my state. A lot of chefs started because they were making medicine for someone in their family. And then like our colleague Jackie, she started because her mom got sick. She had to make medicine for her mom, and then decided to go to culinary school to really learn. But it was created from she was making medicine, and I think that that's also something that, that we have to shout out to people, because sometimes that meal is more than just, fine dining. It's a therapeutic meal.
Absolutely.
Let food be thy medicine.
You are what you eat, and people really forget that you are what you eat. And I hate to say it, as someone my main job now is, I am not every day at the table creating the fabulous like farm to table cannabis experience that I would love to be doing, because there are still so many restrictions. So technically here in Nevada, I am not a consumption lounge, and I'm not allowed to legally operate as one. I cannot be selling and serving people cannabis just left and right and putting it all out there, because sometimes the state will like to knock on your door and say, what are you doing? Now, part of me thinks that has a little bit more to do with taxes and the dispensaries not being able to curate that same event or experience for guests, but I like to play within the lines now, because nobody wants to be in trouble in their chosen field. 100%. It will definitely ostracize you from other people wanting to work with you. And so I have learned to play within the rules. But there are ways to play within the rules here and still give people an experience. And I think that part of that is so important, because as you said, most of us started out caring for someone or giving or creating an experience and not realizing what we were necessarily doing or setting up for a future. And then it just kind of happens along its own way. And it's so hard to combine that when you're used to, like you said, a different market. If you're used to the underground pop-up, whatever it is type of market, and you're breaking into the other, and there are regulations and tracking and just documentation, it's hard. And I think we bump heads here in Nevada, especially because the dispensary, like if you go to the Source or Planet 13 or anybody on the Strip and Cookies, they can't sit you down for a cannabis meal. They can't provide you a great location. There was no one who told you to come to this dispensary and you were going to be served. So they're definitely missing our unique skills for someone 100%. Who set up your travel experience. But if someone set up your travel experience and maybe we go to the dispensary and we pick out what you like, and I bring you to a kitchen and we infuse that product with you reading the label and the milligrams, me explaining dosages, us being in a great location. So to have a retreat in a motel that's cannabis friendly, that may have product on the property, so you can explain to someone, this is what your plant looked like straight out of the ground. This is what it looks like processed. This is what happens to it. These are the different forms that come out of it. Your extract is very similar to vanilla extract. When you're eating this, you're experiencing this because it's hitting your cannabinoid system. Other things are hitting your body, causing these plant reactions. And so you miss that experience because you're not connected and because you're restricted.
Yeah.
And other people who are coming out.
And like what you described, Kristal, is a magnificent experience. That's a magnificent, because you literally learn. You're like,
have an experience.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I mean, and so listen, I've been around enough, but that's amazing.
The dispensary, they feel like maybe I'm too old to go into the dispensary, and so you would like to smoke some cannabis, or you may be, your payment level may be so high that you need a dab, but you've only ever experienced and seen a joint, and so you don't know what's available to you. And so having someone to curate these experiences, to explain, to give proper education, a place you feel safe to do it, recommended by someone who is experienced, and it breaks it down and it makes it easier for you to come to terms with, hey, like, I want to try that too. Alcohol is everywhere. Alcohol is everywhere, and we should be putting cannabis everywhere so people aren't afraid of it.
Yes, literally. It should be grown everywhere. I agree with that. Everywhere. Thank God. Yeah. All right, let me go back to some questions. I'm going to ask April. So how do you navigate the regulatory and legal challenges while providing a cannabis-friendly accommodations at and services at the resort?
So first of all, we have the baddest in the game representing us. Shout out to CB Council, Christina over there, who helps us keep abreast of all local and state regulations and make sure that we're operating within those confines. And legal is so important, especially in a market like New York City where things are not well established and constantly changing, and really like on the dime here. My heart goes out to all the lawyers representing everybody right now.
We're in a little bit of a pickle here in New York.
Yes.
But yeah, we're working on it here. But
it's really about making sure, like, hospitality is about safety. It's about providing that safety. And like you were saying, Kristal, like it's about removing like the transactional experience that you get in a dispensary into a personal one where you can actually learn, because a lot of people are not in the right mindset when they're going into a dispensary to go and be receptive to all of that information, because it's anxiety inducing for them, especially if it's their first time.
And I don't feel like most dispensaries, and this is not a slight, but there's not a lot of client touch points, you know? So you don't really, you kind of diverted to like a kiosk a lot of times. So you're not really, sometimes, like Vegas actually is pretty good because some of those
shout out to every
bartenders,
girl doing a pop-up and representing their
they
brands.
will
Every
tell
brand
you.
who sends someone to do a pop-up inside the dispensary, those girls and guys are working hard, and I appreciate their given education and their time. If you're a brand that sends someone into a dispensary that's selling your project to educate people on your product, especially an edible, if you were there with a non-infused sample, I'm here for it. I'm here for it because you're creating an experience, a touch point, education. I love it.
And you know what? Some states don't allow brands to do pop-ups in stores. Some
Hold up,
states
no, they don't.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a wild west out here with, and
don't
that's why I'm
allow
always
brands
looking
to
and
educate
researching.
consumers in stores. But we won't talk about that. Let's move on.
We don't have time for that today.
Okay, Ayanna. So have you experienced any misconceptions or stigmas surrounding cannabis tourism when you were working as a touring, like a traditional, like as you transitioned your business and you were like, I think I want to do cannabis tourism? Were your traditional people like, are you out of your mind? Or was it like, you know, that sounds interesting? Like, how was that transition?
It was actually a little bit of both. Like, overwhelmingly, the reception has been, oh, I didn't know you can do that. Or it's been, oh, well, like, tell me more about it. And I didn't really get so much pushback from like the average person that I would tell about. It was just because not many people have done it. We're still figuring out what we can do and what we can't do. It's just being in this whole gray market of legal and illegal. So I set up, like many, cannabis brands, I set up on the traditional side. But then when I go to advertise something, it's not until I go to do it that you're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, well, why not? I don't know. It says cannabis or it says plant medicine. I'm like, but I'm not selling any. It is still a learning curve.
Yeah.
I'm 5
This
years in.
industry will age you. I'm actually 20 years old. And I'm kidding.
Like a banana.
Google won't post our website on our Google link for our address because we're plant medicine.
I don't think people realize.
So when you go, you can see all the other things, but you can't see you can't have a link for my website.
And I think people, just from the business, no matter what sector you're in the cannabis industry, I think people underestimate how much regulatory things that we can't have access to that they do. So it's like social media, payment processor, advertising,
bank account,
all of that. So I didn't get too much pushback from like the average person, but it was just, oh crap, okay, so I have to find another way to do, which I'm finally made enough mistakes that I can teach a course on how not to make my mistakes. So we have that, but just even from the public, I think it's a misconception. It's sort of like a party, drugs, and rock and roll type vibe, and it's not. Like Kristal kind of alluded to.
Maybe for some, that's your vibe.
Said,
I say 70% of cannabis consumption is medical, and then 30% you want to rock out, and maybe that's fair. I'll give it to them. But I think for the average, listen, when I travel, I'd prefer not to talk to anybody.
Listen, I would say during these events, I would prefer a weed crowd over an alcohol crowd any day. They're less boisterous. Everybody's just hungry and went somewhere to chill out.
We're gonna find really good food.
Yes, and that's I'm being honest with y'all. That's when I'm finding the best formula. If you just provide a space where I can let my guard down and not worry about if my smell is offending somebody, or if I'm, if I didn't listen and I ate all the edible, how am I going to get home? Like these things, it's always in the back of my mind with my putting on events. But it's just I guess a misconception that we are like a lawless land, that because we allow cannabis, which is still federally illegal, we allow LSD and coke and meth and no, it's not. Like, it's just come and see what it's about. Crazy. But I know what Kristal was alluding to before with the whole kind of getting infused or medicated on your own terms. Like, you don't have to go and try to keep up with the guy that can handle 5 dabs without passing out. I can't, and I have no desire to, but I want to provide a space. We actually offer a lot of mocktails. a lot of non-infused, because I found that although people consume cannabis, they are in recovery for alcohol or, other things that are more triggering. So we are sure to like provide an all-inclusive experience. So like I said, mocktails, non-infused items, knowing what you have, because it's hard with food. It's hard to stop eating when the food is delicious. So if you
Really is.
really kick it off with 100, you have some mac and cheese that's 100 milligrams. People aren't going to self-regulate themselves. Like start off with microdoses and add on. And by the end of
home
the evening,
consumption.
If you ever want to scare someone off,
It's why I don't like chocolate.
People told me they had a bad experience. Oh, girl, don't say you don't like chocolate. Hold up. Hold up.
Not infused, because I want to eat too much of it.
Symbol for chocolate and THC tattooed on my body, right? I am infused for life. I love it. As a Black girl chocolatier, that's my favorite food. And then when you took my favorite plant and added it to it, they did something there. And I will forever be appreciative and in love with chocolate. So if you don't like infused chocolate, what I'm going to have you do is you're just going to mosey on over and we're going to give you a tasting and we're going to infuse you your own.
No, I love the infused chocolate too much. That's the problem. Like you can't give somebody a bowl of mac and cheese infused with 100 milligrams because they're going to eat the whole thing.
Hold up. Let me sorry. Let me bust out. This is my emotional support item.
Not the whisk.
She brought out the whisk.
I tell you this, it is very important. Go on my page, it's Chick with a Whisk, and look at all the bars. You pick you one, and I'm gonna send you the perfectly infused ability of microdose candy bar you've ever had. We'll talk about it when we get out of here. But this is how you know I'm serious. I bust this out too.
She pulled out the whisk. Listen, here's what I know. I'm excited about what's to come because as we. And this is another thing, and I want to actually say this to the community at large. This is why I'm really big on being an advocate at no matter where you are in the cannabis sphere. The importance of being an advocate is so important because legislators and regulators define our experiences because they create the laws that we have to live by, right? So if we're not actively involved as these things are happening, they could say that you can't do things, and it's not necessary. I don't feel it's with a necessary like we've had great conversations and this is what we've come up with. It's rooted in stigma. So how I like to combat stigma is with education. So the more people that we have, and I know all of you do this work, so I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to the ethos out there. The more people that we have that speak up about the experiences they want to happen. I want to be able to go to a place that cannabis is growing where I can go pluck some and someone will show me how to make something and then I can have a delicious meal and then go to bed and then sit in a sauna for a couple of hours. I think a lot of people would co-sign to that experience. Right? So like if we as consumers, as patients, as caregivers, as entrepreneurs, as travelers, and people who love experiences, we have to actually really get involved in being a cannabis activist, advocate, to know when these types of conversations are being had, so we can be like, let me explain to you, minus the lens of stigma, what people really do at these things. So you ever see those memes where like, this is what you think is happening, and this is really what's happening?
Yes.
They'd be thinking it's a party, and it'd be a bunch of chicks laying under a tree, like listening to the music. You know what I mean?
That's how it is. Like events are so. I'll go around and kind of check on guests. Like, are you okay? You're used to outward signs of like enjoyment, partying, dancing, singing. They're just there like a sack of potatoes. I'm like, you okay? You having a good time? Like, I'm having a great time.
Happily,
like, not doing
a happy
anything.
sack of potatoes.
Yes. And I also do like to tell those who are looking to get into the cannabis industry in general, you have to become an advocate whether you want to or not. There's no way that you can't, really not convince so much, but you have to tell people why this needs to change, like you said, on the legislative level, why it's not the reefer madness that they've been raised on for the past 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. So
it's
whether you like
ridiculous
it or
already.
Not to mention that if you are profiting without giving back to this community, you are in the wrong 100% of the time.
You have
100%.
And you better get out there and give back and make sure that this is gone right, because these ladies ain't gonna mess with you otherwise.
Listen, I have always said from day one, and I've been from the medical side. I started 30 years ago advocating for medical cannabis, and I've always said, if you are a brand that does not be an advocate for patients and be an advocate for communities affected, I won't say what I said then, but you kind of get the gist of what I said. You're not nice. You're not nice.
No. You're not in alignment with me.
No.
You have to.
Yeah, we're not in alignment because a lot of us came here because cannabis helped someone in our family or ourselves, and we decided to stay here and deal with all the nonsense of these regulators not understanding these experiences and not understanding why cannabis hospitality could be something that we all get behind, and it'd be wonderful. So I look forward to
$17 billion industry, everybody. We need help. We need help. We really do.
Well, we were just speaking on how cannabis legal is probably, and here is the shout out to all of you pre-law students or anybody out there. If it's a $17 billion industry that's growing, you might want to be part of this movement. You have no competition. We are all looking for you. Everybody trying to hold space in the cannabis industry. We are always looking for cannabis legal. And you can talk to a lawyer all day. But again, somebody in your own community who understands.
Yeah, because some lawyers are predatory. So we have to watch them.
We want to make sure that you're here supporting us. Hand in hand. Right. And that's why I'm really big on, I have no haterism for another chef in the industry. And if you have a question, call me. I am the first person. Rebecca knows. If she's not getting enough applause at an event, I'm like, hold up. Did y'all just come to this event and not shout out and applaud Rebecca and Bree for everything that they put into this and for you to be able to enjoy this experience? And their recap video showing everybody how, we're just going to call it what it is, successful the event was, and how many people, even non-smoking people in the industry, were benefited from attending it. I am so in support of that, because if I tell you, April, I had a great experience at my front row travel vacation, and then you tell Tiffany, and Tiffany tells Alicia, and Alicia tells Rebecca, and it gets all the way back, and she gets some business, and then your business is getting business because they're coming to your motel. Your motel has enough business to book me for a brunch. We're having all of Women's Grow support this. Anytime you clap for your cannabis cousin, it is because you're watering their plant and yours. And we have to remember that, or we get
the grass is always greener where you water it. Always. 100% of the time.
Yes. Speak on that. 100%. And this is what I love about women in our industry, is the nature of, it's like when you got a good hairstylist. Oh,
yes.
Hey, I'm going to follow you around the world. Don't move. I'll follow you. I'll follow you. But I'm going to tell 6 of my friends. You know what I'm saying? So that's just what we do. So I've seen that, that bubbling happen, and I love it, So in this arena, it's even bigger because now it's different realms need to connect. So like a chef and a venue host and travel agents and people that have venues that can host events like that and invite people and build this bigger thing so that people can see. At this point in the game, I'm at how we get rid of stigma. We just got to kind of kick it down. We just got to kick it down. We just have to because at this point in the game, it's all, to me, just lack of education. I was going to say something else, but this is a G-rated show. The Cannabis side, we could have dropped it, but over here, this is a G-rated show. So I'm just saying, we have to kind of just knock it down. People are really trying to, the phrase conscious consumption, when I first heard it, I was like, don't tell me what to do, but I get what it means. I get that for us to be, what's the word I'm looking for? An inclusive community. We got to meet people where they are. And I met someone the other day. She was like, I have 1 milligram and I am asleep. I said, well, God bless you, girl.
Yes.
That is amazing.
You see my face at first? I was like, whoa, I wish I,
but like she's an advocate. She needs that 1 million. And I think there are more people like that, but they get hit with 10 their first go out, and then they're like, oh my God, I'm never going back to that again. Now we just lost someone who could have been a real benefited from it medicinally.
Fixes that on my end. That is the only thing that fixes that. And that's why just walking into a dispensary is never going to be enough advocation and education for something that they're getting millions of tax dollars off of. In all honesty, those dollars, as much as they need to go back to education for children, they need to go into cannabis research. We should not be last in line for being able to pay for the proof if you're already benefiting. What is it? Taxation without representation is a crime. Yep. So how are you taxing me for not representing me in the medical research field for cannabis? So availability, because like you said, that person,
because we're still Schedule 1,
still needs it.
Yeah,
because we're still Schedule 1, and I know that, you know, our next lunch and learn is on policy. We're doing one next week, just so you know. I shout them out. And Rooted in Good is our partner on these series. So if you are curious, and that conversation is going to be about how to be a better advocate, because I think that people want to, like, if you told people, listen, someone could make a rule that this goes bye-bye, you know, or that your prohibition, we're knocking it down, but it was horrible. You know what I mean? And that was all based on legislation. So we need people to make sure that for Kristal to be able to host a public facing, you know, dinner, you know, for April to be able to advertise that she is a cannabis friendly resort and not have it come back to bite her, for Ayanna to say that we're going to be doing an infused travel adventure and it not be like, you know, you're trafficking or some shit like that. I tried.
I give it to you. You tried.
No, you just support. You're emotional about your support.
Yes.
Support your local chamber. They are doing a very good job here in Nevada. Nevada Chamber they actually have a meeting tonight. Is their monthly meeting at the Lexi Hotel, which is a cannabis hotel. So if you would like to support something in Nevada that is full circle to everything that we are talking about tonight, the Nevada Chamber of Commerce the Nevada Chamber of Cannabis is having a meeting at the Lexi Hotel. I think if you're a non-member, it's like $30-$40, but all of that money gets put back into paying for and supporting advocacy. The Lexi Hotel is doing exactly that. They're saying that we are not serving any cannabis, but we are going to be cannabis friendly and support. And they're also supporting chefs and people like me who want to pop up and provide in a space that's more acceptable. People don't want to come to your house and experience their first cannabis party. So to have a venue that is also a great social venue where you can hang out and feel comfortable. Like you said, everybody wants this curated experience. I am 100% in support of that, and they're getting the job done. And a lot of the people who sit on the board, we're going to shout out Bree again, who supported Women Grow and Lady Leg events, because Bree is on the board for cannabis, and she puts her heart and soul into it. And she makes sure that they're getting the support that they need and people are getting the education, and any chick like that is a win in my book, and I just want to support her and them. So yes, I'm telling y'all 18 billion times, if you're in Nevada, go tonight.
Yes, thank you. All right, so I want to wrap us up because I want to be mindful of time. So what we've come down to is we need to all be a better advocate. So see us next week for that segment, because this is how this cannabis hospitality realm becomes what we really want it to be. You know what I mean? And not negating non-consumers. There's enough place for us to be where we want to be, and you can be where you want to be, and it's just a happy place, you know? So I want everyone to go around and tell people where to find you. Someone had asked me about your website. April.
So you can't find my website on Google, but you can find my website. My website is up and active and working. And you can find us at unifyretreat.com. You can find us on Instagram at Unify Retreat Motel. And you can find me. I finally got my page back from Instagram at Buy Cannabis from Moms, because a mom is someone you can always trust in this industry. And I buy all of my cannabis from moms currently.
Love that. And Kristal, tell everyone where they can find you.
I travel internationally if needed, and you can get recipes, SOPs, cannabis consulting, formulations, kitchen help, whatever you need to make your infused or non-infused, because I even do dog treats. I have my hand in a bit of everything, but if you need some food science, some cannabis science, some explanations, whether it be in person, I am Chick with a Whisk on Instagram. I don't have a Twitter or any of those things. I'm so sorry. You can reach out to me directly. CannabisChefConsulting.com. You can also reach out to me directly. In all honesty, I think my phone number is posted online 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So you can reach out to me directly. Everybody who needs a consultation and whatnot, pricing, information, travel recipes, please just hit me up with an email.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Ayanna, tell us where people can find you.
FrontRowTravels.com is the website. Instagram is Front Row Travels LLC. Facebook is Front Row Travels. We offer things for business and for consumers. So if you are a brand that wants to use travel to elevate, generate some profits, we do that. If you have a following, not even a following, if you have like 8 or 9 friends and they're like, listen, I need some we do it all. B2B, B2C. For our consumers, we offer group, we offer personalized. Even if you don't own a brand yet and you're looking to get into cannabis hospitality, I have courses, like I have a do's and don'ts checklist, I'll say, of what you do when you're getting into this industry. So it's like we have something for everybody.
I love that. So learn and you teach the next gen. I love that. Thank you. All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining me today for today's installment of our Summer Lunch and Learn. And remember to check out April at Unify, Kristal at Chick with a Whisk, and Ayanna at Front Row Travels. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time for our cannabis and policy event.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.